Welcome to Business Review, a daily program that delves into the latest and most significant economic stories. From stock markets to currency news, Business Review covers the most up-to-date developments in the global financial world.
Amazon.com on Thursday, August 27th, launched fitness band and app Halo as the e-commerce giant looks to take on the crowded fitness tracker market. According to Amazon, the Halo band would be priced at $99.99 while the app membership would cost $3.99 per month. Amazon said the water-resistant band with a battery life of up to 7 days contains an accelerometer, a temperature sensor, and a heart rate monitor, among other features. The market for wearables is highly crowded, with Apple being the leader with a 29.3% share in the first quarter of 2020, according to data from market research firm International Data Corp. Rivalry for a greater share of the fitness band market has prompted Apple and Samsung to add features for health tracking, including electrocardiogram and blood pressure sensor. Alphabet Incorporated and Google said in November it would buy Fitbit for $2.1 billion. Shares of the fitness tracker maker fell marginally in the morning trading.
Germany on Thursday called on its citizens to stop traveling to countries and regions considered to have a high risk related to the pandemic and announced plans for stricter quarantine rules. Germany has managed to keep the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths relatively low, with some other large European countries with 237,936 cases and 9,285 deaths recorded. But the number of new daily cases has been rising since early July and has accelerated in recent weeks. Outbreaks traced back to weddings, family gatherings, and gatherings at beach destinations abroad have made the headlines in local media, leading to calls to crack down on events at which social distancing rules may not be observed. In another development, the German government is set to revise upward its economic growth forecast for this year to a decline of less than 6% from a previous estimate of minus 6.3%. Economy Minister Peter Altmaier is scheduled to present the revised outlook beginning September.
The Federal Reserve on Thursday, August 27th, rolled out a sweeping rewrite of its approach to monetary policy, putting new weight on bolstering the U.S. labor market and less on worries about too high inflation. The Fed's new monetary policy strategy, unveiled at the start of an annual central banking conference, pledges to address shortfalls from the broad-based and inclusive goal of full employment. The U.S. Central Bank also promises to seek to achieve inflation that averages 2% over time, offsetting periods when it is running below that level with periods when it is moderately higher. Fed Chair Jerome Powell's new policy blueprint, designed for a world where weak inflation, low interest rates, and slow economic growth appear to be here to stay, puts the labor market front and center. The changes acknowledge, the Fed said in its description of its new strategy, that downward risks to employment and inflation have increased, of tools to achieve its goals of stable prices and a stronger labor market. All 17 Fed policymakers signed on to the new strategy.
The United Airlines is preparing for the biggest pilot furloughs in its history after announcing on Thursday, August the 27th, the need to cut 2,850 pilot jobs this year, or about 21% of the total. Airlines reeling from the devastating impact of the pandemic on air travel has asked the U.S. government for another $25 billion to cover employee payroll through March. United's planned job cuts, released in a memo to employees and shared with the media, would take place between October the 1st and November the 30th. Facing a shrinking industry in the years ahead, airlines have generally tried to mitigate the number of forced job cuts by offering early retirement or voluntary departure deals, but some carriers' packages have been more attractive than others. United said the numbers were based on current travel demand for the remainder of the year and its anticipated flying schedule, which it said continues to be fluid with the resurgence of COVID-19 in some regions across the United States.
The New Zealand Stock Exchange was knocked offline 2 days in a row due to a cyber attack. NZX said it had first been hit by a distributed denial of service attack from abroad on Tuesday. The exchange said the attack had impacted NZX network connectivity and it had decided to halt trading in cash markets just before 3 p.m. New Zealand local time. Trading halted briefly for a second time on Wednesday, but was back up and running before the end of the day. A DDoS attack is a relatively simple type of cyber attack in which a large array of computers all try to connect to an online service at once, overwhelming its capacity. NZX said the attack had come from offshore via its network service provider, adding that the second attack had halted trading for a large chunk of the working day. But despite the interruption, the exchange was up at the close of business near its all-time high.
Tijani Mohammed Bande, president of the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly, has called for joint efforts by the international community to fight against COVID-19 during a recent interview with the China Central Television, the CCTV. UNGA's president called for equitable access to COVID-19 vaccine, urging the community to ensure affordable pricing once the vaccine is developed. He also stressed the necessity of reducing the impact of COVID-19 on poor countries and increasing assistance to hard-hit countries through borrowing and technical assistance to help recovery.
The economic ministers of the 10 Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN members, and from China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand on Thursday underscored the significance of the regional comprehensive economic partnership in post-COVID-19 pandemic recovery. According to joint media statements, attending the 8th RCEP ministerial meeting via video conference, the ministers of the 15 countries were pleased with the significant progress made towards finalizing the agreement for signing at the 4th RCEP summit in November of this year. The ministers recognized the critical importance of the RCEP in light of ongoing uncertainties, stressing the deal's significant role in contributing to the growth and stability of the regional and global economy. They agreed that the agreement's signing would enhance business confidence, strengthen the regional economic architecture, maintain the stability of the regional and global industrial chains and supply chains, and demonstrate the region's support for an open, inclusive, and rules-based multilateral trading system. The RCEP, initiated by the ASEAN in 2012, is a proposed free trade agreement between the bloc's 10 members and its 6 FTA partners: China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and India.
UK Transport Minister Rcep said on Friday, August the 28th, that Britain's government will urge people to return to offices and other workplaces where it's safe to do so to help the economy recover from the pandemic. Prime Minister Boris Johnson will launch a campaign extolling the virtues of returning to the office and providing reassurance that it is a safe place, with all new online tool will help people avoid the most crowded trains and buses. According to data from the Centre for Cities, only 17% of workers in British cities had returned to their workplaces by early August, underscoring the challenges facing Johnson in steering the country away from its shutdown. The Cabinet Office will take out ads in regional newspapers after school children in England return to the classroom, advising employers on how to make their offices COVID secure and encouraging the public to feel safe to go back to work.
A Japanese flying car startup successfully got its vehicle off the ground and the pilot on board conducted a short test flight. Tokyo-based SkyDrive said the test flight of its SD-03 model was held earlier in August and the vehicle was airborne for around 4 minutes at a test site in central Japan. The company says it is the world's smallest flying car, measuring 4 meters in length and width, with a height of 2 meters, and is designed to fit into parking spaces for 2 regular cars. Tomohiro Fukuzawa, who heads the SkyDrive effort, said he hopes the flying car can be made into a real-life product by 2023, but he acknowledged that making it safe was critical. According to SkyDrive, unlike airplanes and helicopters, EVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, offer quick point-to-point personal travel, at least in principle. The SkyDrive project began humbly as a volunteer project called Cultivator in 2012, with funding by top Japanese companies including automaker Toyota, electronics company Panasonic, and video gaming developer Bandai Namco.
This has been Business Review, your daily source for the most critical financial stories. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.